I welcome you with all my heart. Welcome to Sunday morning at the bullshit. For there is no truth, just stories. But I welcome you anyway. Robert used to say, people love stories, so tell stories. There are two topics I wanted to cover today. The first is how to begin at spirituality. And from my experience, you're a beginner for the first 25 years. And all about the confusion in the search, what has to be done if you're to progress. And the other topic is about love. And it's essential part of any spiritual practice that is not Advaita or Zen. Somebody showed me a cartoon a few weeks ago. I posted it on Facebook of a little man carrying a bamboo pole with his goods attached to it in a bundle, walking off into the distance. And it said the 3 stages of life. The first was birth. The second was, what the fuck is this? The third was death. I want to address the what the fuck is this part. You know, I was 11 years old. I said to myself, I was feeling this. Something is wrong here. Things are not supposed to be this way. My father was an asshole, very narcissistic, very angry, very controlling. And my mother was a depressed mess because he kept running off at night and not spending any time with the family. And it turned out later he was having an affair for many years. So I didn't have any loving parents. I had one that was absent and the other one who couldn't feel love because she was so depressed and hurt by her husband. So I began looking for love in books, on spiritual books, about the nature of God, astral projection, and other kinds of things like that. And at the same time pursuing science because I was very curious. But when I really began to investigate spirituality is when I was in college taking courses in Western philosophy and found out, you know, there's nothing but confusion in Western philosophy. No two philosophers agreed about anything because they were in the mind. And the mind makes distinctions. But then around age 26, I decided I've had enough of this. I had worked in an office for the county government in Cleveland, doing population projections for 88 municipalities to see what the population would be in the year 2000, 2010. And they didn't want to accept my figures because they wanted me to overinflate the number of people in the county so that they could get more federal money. So I saw that even using these tools, which are kind of idiotic tools to determine what the population would be, was not that valuable. Even that was rejected on the basis of money. So I was supposed to be a pimp, pimping money to them by lying. And I gave it all up. I took 3 books with me, got on the ship, found out you can't study spirituality on the ship, went to the desert, found out it's really hard to study anything in the desert when it gets hot. Then went to Philip Kapleau in Rochester, New York, and found out I was too egotistical for him, was rejected. And then I went to Mount Baldy for 3 months, where I encountered the most wild states of mind or no mind. And thus began my real spiritual career. But I also studied with 5 other Zen masters. I studied with Muktananda. I studied with one Lama, another Buddhist bishop from Sri Lanka, with Dhyan Yogi, and finally with Robert. It was all a mess of words. There are so many different contradictory opinions about spirituality and how it should be practiced. There's Advaita, Kashmir Shaivism, Zen Buddhism, all the other forms of Buddhism. Different kinds of practices, different kinds of emphasis. Buddhists emphasize no self or emptiness. Advaita emphasized the unborn, the absolute. Kashmir Shaivism emphasizes energy. Mass confusion. Everybody was left to themselves, and they had to find their own truth of the moment and adhere to that, either by following a teacher or remaining not following a teacher. People that didn't follow a teacher generally burned out fairly quickly. They discovered they can't do it by themselves, and yet they feel too independent to go to a teacher. They didn't want to surrender in any way, shape, or form. So they just drifted out of spirituality, or else they reached a level of understanding where they felt comfortable, and they stopped going to teachers. It's utterly confusing what you should be doing and where you should be doing it, how you should do it, what practices you should do. Where do I start? I read Ramana said this, Robert said this, Nisargadatta said this. I find you'll always be confused if all you do is read, do a little meditation, and listen to many teachers, go to a lot of different workshops, relationship workshops, enlightenment workshops, energy workshops, Kundalini workshops, tantric workshops, vipassana workshops, or retreats. You'll always be confused as long as the mind is in there, because it always asks questions. The mind mind's primary obsession is differentiation and also bringing things together in terms of patterns. What are the patterns? What do we find here? What is the commonality? How do they fit together? Then if they don't appear to fit together, how can you make them fit together? How is Ramana like Robert? How is Robert like Nisargadatta? What are their apparent differences? Because we assume they're apparent differences. And we struggle to understand because we place them both on the same level of truth and say only one can be true, rather than say both can be true even though they sound contradictory. The problem is that they're all true to a certain extent. And you have to be able to reconcile the differences in your mind, but more easily in your heart. Rather than thinking, we have to feel. So we go from observing the mind, observing our emotions, observing the energies within, to feeling them. We're no longer a thinker and observer. Observing usually means visually, the imaginary inside, imaginary space inside, which contains all inner phenomena. And instead we escape mind and observation by feeling. By accepting that we are incarnations of spirit. We have become human beings. We have a physical body, but we also have a spiritual body, and that spiritual body has infinite depth, many different levels, many different rooms of experience, of states. But when we can get out of the mind and have the mind drop down into the body, so to speak, so that our center of gravity is in our heart or lower, whole new dimensions are revealed. Dimensions of feeling, dimensions of emotion, dimensions of energies and bliss, the dimensions of extrasensual perception. As we get more and more attuned to the kinesthetic and tactile senses, we sense reality, whatever that is, in a different way. We see that there are worlds within the world that we have assumed to be true. And there are so many levels of emotional connection, energetic connection, love, but energies in every organ in our body, in our head, hands, forearms, shoulders, feet, knees, thighs, pelvis, stomach, gut level. And we sink into this area of our spiritual body And we realize this is what we usually identify as ourselves, not our physical bodies. It's like our physical body is located within our spiritual body. It's observed within our sentience. And the limits of our sentience is the limits of our sense of presence. So sinking in the body, getting out of the head, we enter a world of feeling where tentacles come out from the heart and touch all of those around us, as well as all the objects in the room. We're feeling with our heart. We feel we could walk around the world guided by our heart, and whether it feels objects in front of it, or what the inclination of the pavement is ahead. It's like Caine in that old TV series, Kung Fu. With his eyes closed in the dark, he could beat 10 swordsmen by feel and hearing. Just like sitting next to each other, Tonita and Max can feel each other, the presence of the other's body, just as I can feel their presence in this room. And each of you, if you're sensitive, can feel the bodies in the house with you if you turn your attention to it. Sometimes they're distractions. Sometimes the bodies are comforting, but you can feel them. And if you learn to close your eyes and feel your way around, you get used to the different feel of each, even from 10 feet away. The thing is, once you drop out of your mind, the confusion ends. Because you always experience confusion when you're comparing one thing to another or trying to decide what you do. And all of the confusion is felt in the head. Sometimes it radiates to body tension in the shoulders and back, but the center of the confusion is in your head. Whether it's confusion locating different emotions and finding out which emotion is more true or more evident than the other, or whether it's making a decision about where you should go on vacation, or which job to take, or which lover to pick, which spiritual teacher will you follow, what spiritual practices will you do, what kind of skin softener you should use versus another, what kind of wash you should use over another. Your whole life is deciding, reading ingredients, making choices, bringing stuff home, thinking of times you should be using these things. Twice a day, 3 times a day, before meals, after meals, during meals. Life becomes a struggle because there's so many fucking things to do every day that you're supposed to do for some particular end. But if you're a feeler, you eat when you're hungry, you make love when you're horny, you drink when you're thirsty, you move when you have to go to the bathroom, or pick up your paycheck from the mailbox of the job you no longer have. They sent you a parting check for all of your vacation time, of which you have almost none. And you go back inside, you get into your lounge chair in front of the television set, whether it's off or on, and you just lean back and you start feeling yourself. Start with your toes, your feet, your heels, your calves, your knees, thighs, pelvis, asshole, genitals, spine. You can feel your spine from the bottom up to the neck. You feel the tension along it as it's supporting itself in the whole body. You can feel your arms and your hands and the energies moving through them, generally outward. You can feel your heart and the energy in your heart, in your throat, any blockages in your throat to prevent the energies going up into your brain, into your third eye. We all have blockages somewhere. They just have to be pointed out for us. That's what a lot of different kinds of physically oriented psychotherapy do. They overstress your body so that certain muscles are revealed to you to be stressed. And once they're revealed to be stressed, you can begin to learn how to relax it. But generally, more and more, you just like to sit and feel. Robert looked at Capitol Butte when he was in his back room, sitting. But really, he was there feeling the totality of his body, feeling the totality of emptiness around him, feeling the magnetic and energetic presence of all objects in the room, as well as objects inside of himself, as well as energies inside of himself. They became immersed in energies and no thought. Here, there's no confusion at all. There's just perceiving yourself and the world around you in an energetic way, and in a hearing way, and in a tactile way, and a kinesthetic way, how your body is stacked, balanced, how other bodies in the house or the room are disturbed by your presence, or you are disturbed by their presence. Or else you melt in each other in harmony and share energy that way, even though no energy is really shared. What's shared is resonance. Just like I noticed that many of the women in our Sangha have their periods about the same period of time. They've been in training each other to come into resonance at a certain time of the month. I don't know whether men have periods or not similarly, but I know I have moods. Times when I'm happier than other times. Times when I tend to be grumpier than other times. But I don't know whether other people are affected by that same sort of rhythm inside of themselves or not. I know that when I got very mad at Max last year and write letters about all the faults I saw in him and created a few others, he got extremely mad back at me and wrote me an even more harsh letter than I did, to which I responded with an even harsher letter, to which he responded an even harsher measure. Nobody loves you, Ed, you're an asshole, that kind of thing. And then we reconciled after the period of troubles was over. But when you get into feeling, there's no longer any confusion. You can still become confused trying to figure out what your feelings are. You can still be confused trying to figure out what is real, Desalina. But when you feel love, it's real. Then 15 seconds later, you say, is this real? It's real while it's happening. It becomes unreal when you start thinking about it. What about if you have pain in your body? You're passing a kidney stone. Try to think that's unreal when it's happening. You fall down and break an arm. Try to think that's unreal when it's happening. Instead, sink into the pain of the broken arm. Find the value in that pain. Because I found that there's value in all pain. For me, a big emotional blockage or problem, you might say, is jealousy. But now I love jealousy. It livens me up to feel jealous. I become fully awake when I'm jealous. Why, that son of a bitch. Why is she talking to him? What does she see in him? I'm far more magnificent than he is. Is she cheating on me? Will she cheat on me? Or getting the opposite point of view. When are you going to cheat on me? Are you cheating on me? You are cheating on me. The mind is involved fully. The mind stirs the emotions up more fully. Other things are added to jealousy. Hurt, anger, fear of loss, rage, thinking about stabbing somebody to death, shooting them to death, bludgeoning them to death. Right, Maria? I see a big smile in your face. How many people have you bludgeoned to death in your mind? But when the mind is not involved, evaluating the feelings or the energies, there are just the feelings. And the feelings bring you alive, no matter what they are, even the negative ones. One of the best and most fantastic is sadness and grief. And most people don't want to feel it. They say that I'm depressed. I don't want to be depressed. And they fight the depression instead of sinking with the depression. The depression will carry you down into the deepest parts of yourself. It'll be like a rapid elevator ride down to the depths of yourself. But you really don't want to see the depths of yourself because you fear the depths, because you don't go there. You may feel like there's a loss of self from going into your depths. But there's no loss of self going into your depths. There's only depths. Speaking of self, the world seems to be equally divided between people that say there's self and people that say there's no self. But it's the word itself that confuses us because they're speaking about different things. At one time, in 1995, I had a shower experience where I experienced total emptiness, like a hard vacuum in outer space. And I saw that I didn't exist as a person or as anything. That the word self and I did not point to anything within me. There was no entity there. I even called Robert up and said, Robert, I'm scared. I don't have a self. Of course, that was his teachings. You have no self. It doesn't exist. And he said, Ed, of course you have a self. You're speaking to me, aren't you? The thing is, you have to be wary of words, because words and concepts need definition, which leads to contradiction and confusion. But in pure feeling, there's no confusion. There's only experience. And the experience is very grounding because it's tactile, it's kinesthetic, it's not visual. And light, it tends to be denser, more dense, more energetic. While observers tend to be lighter, removed, distant, not touched by feelings, because they watch them instead of be them. So for a long period of time, our spirituality consists of allowing ourselves to sink into emotions that we've fought or repressed most of our lives, like the feeling of loneliness when you're a little kid and your mom and dad don't pay any attention to you. That comes up as a feeling of being worthless. And that feeling gets covered over by attempts to make ourselves important or real or valuable. And we take on all different kinds of missions in order to prove ourselves as being independent, strong, and free, or whatever. When if we had just allowed ourselves to feel the loss and the loneliness 20 years later in life, like now compared to 20 years ago, and fully feel that feeling and see and feel that that feeling is no longer relevant to our present existence. And thus we deal with all emotions that way. Allow them to come. Let them come into the heart. Love the feeling and devour it. Take it into your heart and let it explode into energies, into bliss, time after time after time, until you come to the realization that all emotions are just energies in a formless form. And the form we give them is the names we give these various energies, like depression, anxiety, fear, hatred, jealousy, confusion. They're just energy things, energy entities, which we try to label so that we understand them, and we get confused, trying to find out which is real. But the mind can never find out which is real. It's the heart and gut that tell us what is real, because physicality is more real than anything that goes on in our heads. And physicality is where our body lives. Physicality is where we're incarnated as a spiritual being, as the life force, as a sentient entity. So when you're setting out, trying to figure what spirituality is about, what to do. And what to do is to feel. Don't practice who am I by asking who am I and waiting for an answer, like Robert states. Don't find the I thought and then follow the I thought to find out where it disappears and where it arises, because you'll only find emptiness that way, the void. And while the void is great to find, it's magnificent to find, and you'll find it anyway, but you can get lost in it for a decade or more. So instead, I suggest that you feel for the I feeling, the I sensation somewhere in your chest. The sensation that you are alive, sensation that you exist, or the sensation of love, which is very closely attached to being alive. So you may practice beginning to love things and people because it's the closest thing to loving yourself. And you'll find loving another, which I'll talk about later. Doing that, you learn how to love yourself, find yourself. So the path is one of healing. You can become a healer with the energies. You can become a poet about the energies, about your bliss. You can live in ecstasy much of the time. You can feel the energies flow through your body and in the environment around you. You can swim in them, like at the bottom of a pool with rapid currents, both inside yourself and around you. And you can just exult in being an energy being. Close your eyes and open yourself to hearing and to the energies around you. And you wharf and wable in the wave, or however it goes in Alice in Wonderland. Gyre and gimble in the wave. You dance in the energies. You're ecstatic in the energies. You're loving in the energies. And you find truth in the energies because even though they constantly change from second to second and really can't be labeled because we don't have the labels for the kind of energy states people feel. So we can't really label them. We can get analogies and mention metaphors to give people an idea of what they feel like, but we don't have the words to express all these different energy states and feelings and perceptions. So we have to keep them to ourselves, and the best we can do is to give them that energy state by touching them in their heart through love. And then when we're attached to them in love, we tell them about our state. And sometimes they can feel it. This is what I try to do with the Sangha here, is use words, symbols, my voice, my energies, to give you some sense of what's beyond the mind. Give you some sense of the non-mundane world, of the spiritual world, once your mind stops. And the spiritual world doesn't mean becoming more etheric. It's being more grounded in your body, more sensitive to the body and what's around you, more grounded in your incarnation in your body. You are spirit dropped into a body and developing along with the body. So you feel your spirit, you feel emotions. You feel everything around you. And you live in this ocean of energies. And then you become abnormal like I am, like Tonita is, and like so many people are at the satsang, where people don't know what to make of you because you don't seem to be in their world. And they get upset about it. And they keep yanking your chain, trying to bring you into their world, the mundane world. And you really don't want to go there. You've been there and you know what it's like. So that's it. In the beginning of your spiritual journey, you're going to be confused as long as you keep reading books, going from one teacher to another, taking workshops on relationships, on love, on God, on Zen, whatever. You're going to be confused because every Zen master has a different point of view. They have different degrees or different kinds of enlightenment. Their genes are different, so the way they teach is different. And if you think each one is talking about reality and is literally true because they're a Zen master, you're going to be messed up, because even Zen masters have to use words to express things. And words are individual interpretations. So don't listen to words. Feel him or her. Feel your teacher. And let the words just go through you. Feel the book. Don't read it. Feel your environment. Don't think about it. Feel your day as you live it. Don't think about how to plan it. Feel. And if you feel, you won't be confused. Even in love, you won't be confused unless you start thinking about it. Confusion comes when you think about it. Okay. The other topic is love. I think that almost everybody in the world is terrified of love because of the experiences they've had in love, of being lost in love, or not getting enough love, or being hurt when somebody says something, or being brokenhearted when somebody leaves or dies. I've been very fortunate in my life to be able to quickly and easily fall into love with many women over many decades. Almost all of them were non-sexual relationships. But it was the love itself, even if it was not requited or even actively rejected. The love opened my heart, warmed my heart, made me yearn and scream for love in the other. And even when it wasn't requited, I felt alive. I felt alive because I was yearning, hoping, planning to have the other, what I was going to do with her, where we would go, how we would have sex, how it would be marvelous. Feeling at a distance what she felt like, what she smelled like. Feeling an erection when thinking about her. And the joy in my lower body because of that sensation of sexuality. Feeling awakened in the heart, in my genitals. And then they brought the mind along into worship. I worshiped these women, each and every one. Each and every time I did this, I felt closer to God too. Worship of another brought me closer to God, worshiping God. Whether the love was requited or not. It made me want to bow before them and to surrender to them. I give you my life. However, most women don't want my life. They have other ideas about what they want. They see such as foolishness, or somebody that has no spine, or somebody who's a leech, or somebody who doesn't know themselves. But oh, the call of love, the call of lust. Taken together, they make you totally alive in a way you don't when listening to a poem or even Chopin. Love and lust for someone of the same or opposite sex brings you alive, brings you pain for not being able to get it, get what you want. But then, you're really lucky sometimes. And somebody comes along who loves you as much as you love them. The intensity is so great. Your entire beingness is a hollow shout to them, I love you, I love you, I love you. I also lust for you. I want to penetrate you or be penetrated by you. I want your essence inside of me. I want your body inside of me. I want your sense of presence inside of me. I don't want to be anymore. I want you to be. Just you. Just you. And you imagine sexually penetrating, or imagine even more, energetically going into their body and becoming their identity and loving them from the inside. When Janet came, when she first saw me, she was so excited that she tripped over the rug and then giggled with her hands in gasha. And I knew then she was somebody special to me. She came to me in love. And then when we drove in the car to the ocean, she again over and over expressed her love to me by reading Rumi poems to me. And then saying, this is how I feel about you. And then when she sat next to me in the car looking out at the ocean and starting having orgasms, and I was scared shitless thinking she was having some sort of kriya or epileptic bursts of some sort. And then seeing it was orgasms, that I induced orgasms in her because of her love for me and her propinquity to me. And I reached over and I kissed her. We kissed for 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And we just talked. And I said, she said, are we going to have sex? And I said, no. I said, are you going to be the love of my life? And mostly she was. We continued on that way for close to 2 years, sharing love daily, visually on Skype, on the phone, talking about the energies we felt, talking about visions of God we saw, talking about how much we loved each other. And all that I wanted to do was surrender to her. And all she wanted to do was to surrender to me. But she told me that she was never able to fully surrender. She was always holding back. And eventually, although I had all kinds of visions, and so did she, being at the feet of God or with each other, kissing her feet, touching her toes, touching her knees, grabbing her knees in my arms, just pressed up against her knees, or lying next to each other in the bed, fully in love, just loving her presence, being totally satisfied of that love by being in presence with her because I knew how much she loved me, and she expressed it all the time. Because she was never fully able to surrender, eventually she felt that the relationship was a trap. And she began drifting away with violent ending after violent ending after violent ending. I soon got used to the violent endings. But one day after one of the endings, that's when I realized God in me. I had taken all the projections into her of love and brought them back into myself, and I was love. I myself was love itself. I was no longer Ed, no longer body, I was love. And abiding in that I am love state purified something in me, opened something up in me. one day, Shakti exploded in me, rose from my gut to my heart, to my head and outwards, in the most tremendous experience of my life, of a thunderclap, thunderbolt style Shaktipat, of the light and energy within, the life force within arising and showing herself to me visually as this dancing fire of white light, and feeling the thrill of being in her presence at the same time. The worship I felt. I was face to face with God. Janet didn't get that because she had not been able to surrender all the way, and she kept apologizing for it. She said, I can't love like you, Ed. I can't love like you. She was concerned about mundane matters, like how I would be able to get along with her kids since I'm so much older, or she fearing me dying ahead of her, and she wanted somebody that would die about the same time as she did. Things like that. So she began looking for other teachers. And currently it's with a teacher that's 5 years older than, or younger than I am, going through the same stuff. She can't surrender to him either. What I got out of it was enlightenment. What I got out of it was meeting God within me. And she continues to be with me all the time, embracing me, kissing me with her tongue, kissing my body all over, creating energy states wherever she touches. She's always there, loving me, especially when I sit down and quiet. I can feel her in me and about me. I say her only because it's kind of conventional. But when I use the word her, it does feel like a her. I could use the word him, and I could tell about that aspect too, the male aspects of how it makes me feel powerful and empowered. But I like the feminine aspect. It's softer and sweeter for me than the masculine aspect. Then I met Dia. I had known Dia for 11 years. She used to come to Los Angeles and stay for a month at a time at a nearby hotel. We'd spend all day together. And then she got a house given to her by one of her students in Santa Monica. We went there. She was there for a long time too. I always loved Dia after Janet, but when Dia came onto the scene, Janet left. She was jealous, she told me later. And Dia was jealous of Janet, always wondering if Janet would come back and talking about it. She was jealous of Karima sitting next to me on the couch. She was jealous as I was jealous. But with her, when she came, jokingly for years, I had been asking her to marry me, knowing that the answer would be not near like Muzika. So I asked her this last time she came, and she said, yes, I will marry you. And I exploded. The woman I love will marry me. I was stunned. I walked around stunned. No mind was left. I was just stunned. What I had always wanted was a woman like that, a witch, a sorceress, and somewhat mad, I mean insane, to be in love with me and to take me to different worlds, whether they were insane worlds or real worlds. and I guarded her like a treasure. I knew how much trouble she could get into. Run through the streets naked because of some accident of getting locked out of her room. Or be set upon by demons. Or one time imagining me as a black, huge spider following around Self-Realization Fellowship Lake because of all the negative things she had heard about me from other people. She has a very vivid imagination. But this time when she disappeared to go back to Scotland, I felt the most unimaginable pain in my body that I've ever felt in my life. I've never felt pain like that, emotional pain, separation pain, grief, so deep or so strong, I just wanted to die rather than to tolerate more of it. But I didn't die. Then when I found that she was going off to Rajiv just a week and a half or something after she left here, without telling me and concealing it from me, I felt a deep jealousy once again, anger, rage, but I could do nothing about it. So I just felt it and acted out of it. But then something happened. About 2 weeks after that, I felt a quickening of the power inside of me. The power I felt in Samadhi with Dia was now manifesting in my everyday life. Every day I felt more and more powerful. I felt my power increasing 3 or 4-fold. I felt my power and ability to express the energies, express love, express emptiness, express everything increased. My power to give Shaktipat to people at a distance increased. To make them ecstatic at a distance increased. To bind them to me at a distance increased. So the two most powerful relationships I ever had with Janet and Dia, even when they left and after they were gone, left me totally changed. That's why I don't fear relationships. I don't fear the ending of relationships, because they help me grow as a person. Somehow they expose something in me that's expressed between the two of us, my lover and me, and it had been invisible before. And when they left, I was able to see it in me and grab it in me and incorporate it in me. With Janet, it was love. I brought it back and became love. And then I guess you could say that Shakti was pleased with my depth of love and showed herself to me as a lover of her. With Dia showed me my own power, and it's been increasing ever since. It's like she unleashed that cork in me that cut away all, what would you call it, self-doubt, self-checking, all fear of being wrong or making a mistake. And I know I have more to work on in this particular area, especially now that we're transitioning to different houses and what's going to happen. But each of those relationships, neither of them was sexual. Neither of them did we have sex, although both were sexual in nature. Left me with power and love. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of love. Even if you think losing your lover will destroy you, it will in a way. But that lover, she or he, is revealing new stuff in yourself that you didn't know that was there, which is your permanent state after the end of the relationship. Do not fear love. Love will take you to places you wouldn't believe existed, even in books. It'll take you to a world of energies, which is not the mundane world that we see around us every day. It's far beyond that world. You see things in terms of energies. Even the world, the objects around you are energies that are congealed, you might say, but still move at a very slow pace. And inside of you, they move so quickly, the energies move so quickly, the emotions move so quickly, and they go back and forth into each other, emotions into energies, energies into emotions. And everything is too quick to be labeled, even if there were labels for these states, but there are no labels. The language hasn't been invented yet. Will be in the future by other mystics. But once you've been grabbed by this path, the path of feeling, which is sort of like a combination of Kundalini and Bhakti, love opens up the energies in you, opens up the nadis, the energy nerves, opens up the nervous system, opens up your heart. You become bigger and bigger, able to accept more and more, tolerate more and more, and create more and more. And then you post things on Facebook, and these people that just follow Robert say, well, there's no self to do this. There is. It's deeper self than the one you lose in emptiness. It's your whole beingness, your sense of presence, that begins crackling and sparkling with energies like lightning. And it's you, your essence. Yeah, there's an observer that's separate, but the energies go into emptiness and the emptiness go into energies. They're one. They just change places every now and then. So, this path of energy work, of feeling, can be very, very scary. But the fear comes before you go into it. When you're in it, it becomes exciting. So fall in love. Just fall desperately in love. Allow it. See what happens. It's not going to kill you. It'll just make you want and want and want and want and lust and lust and lust. And that's good because you're waking up everything in your body, your mind, your testes, your vagina, your womb, your heart, your brain. Everything comes alive. And then when the lover leaves, death. You have death, followed by a rebirth with new energies and a new persona. It's constantly changing, constant growth, ever-changing enlightenment, unfolding enlightenment. Are there any questions? Who turned their microphone on? Nobody. From Kevin. Any advice on dissolving knots in your heart and forehead area? The forehead area is very difficult. You have two choices: to try to dissolve it or to bring it down into your heart or your gut. With the heart blockage, Don't watch it. Become it. Feel your heart area and melt into the blockage. Become the blockage through feeling. Imaginatively feel down into your heart area. When I feel into my heart area, I feel so many different things down there. I feel my ribs. I feel my lungs, passing air. I see energies there. I feel energies moving around the heart. But I don't presently have a sense of blockage, but if there were one there, it probably feels something like a soft rock, maybe the size of a grapefruit in your heart. So it's not really a blockage so much as an entity, a lost emotion. 15 minutes of crying, a felt hurt encapsulated so you didn't feel it by your mind. And you just feel into it until it's absorbed and the blockage breaks up. It could take 3 weeks to do it. Just be gentle with it because it's frightened of you, your attention. It thinks you mean it harm, you want to destroy it. But what you say to it is, I want to know you. I want to know you in my heart, what you are, whatever you are. I accept you, I love you. Come to me into my heart. Let me feel you. And let you become me again. That's how you gently deal with blockages or feelings. You bring them into your heart. And I guess the one in your head, you can do the same thing. After you learn the trick, do it in your heart. You can do it in any part of your body. Just by moving imaginatively your consciousness up to the point where the blockage is, feeling the blockage. Like this, just let it feel the blockage as it moves, as your consciousness moves around. Follow it, follow it, follow it, follow it. Follow it, feel it, feel it, feel it, feel it, feel it, feel it, and gently. I love you. I love you. Please come into me. I beckon you. Please come into me. That's how you do the breathing and forehead. Any other question?
So, Robert, I have a quick question for you. Thanks for all your feedback. Your recent postings, especially the "What is this? I don't know," and even the picture you put there seems to be like written for me. And what you're describing today also and lately seems to be explaining my my experience. So when I abide in myself, it's very dense, and it is like oceanic currents of myself. And lately, with the ongoing theme has been finding eddies and areas of bliss. And as I enter into the bliss, it expands and seems to build upon itself. So what seems to be happening is seems to be an act of purification and strengthening. Can you comment a little bit about that theme of bliss appearing and drawing me in and growing within me?
It's just exactly as you described. I would describe it the same way. There's not a lot I can add to it. It is an act of purification. The love and the feeling of the energies both are acts of purification. I mean, the action is a purification, Although the love itself is not a purification, or the energies are not a purification, but you become more able to perceive. And it's not by melting blockages, although that's the case. It's just that Shakti seems to love you back more, the more you're open to her. And the more you feel Shakti, the more you feel capable of handling it, and the more Shakti feels ready to show herself to you.
So the bliss feels to me like a golden energy, very dense and cosmic and multidimensional in its bliss. The bliss is psychological, intellectual, as well as physical, and in other dimensions as well. And
Especially
it seems to
the
be
other dimensions. Yes.
Especially like it's otherworldly in terms of its immediacy and vividness and its density. And it seems to be saying to me, yes, Mark, this is the way. It seems to be like the Pied Piper leading me to growth.
Exactly so.
Thank you. Thank you, Ed.
The marvelous part is when you begin, or let's say when you're totally immersed in the energies and they become ecstatic, and then they become denser and they become pure power. And they play like that. They go back and forth and in and out and around the body, in the body, through the body. And then you start noticing the other dimensions. The other dimensions which are higher and some lower. And you begin intuiting them, and they begin to expose themselves to you. Dimensions above your body, your mind, and below. So that as you're going downwards, you're also stretching upwards into different dimensions. And different dimensions in the self, it doesn't feel physical anymore. It doesn't even feel spiritual anymore. It's like adding a new room to the house. So you know as much as I do, Mark.
Thank you, Ed. I very much appreciate you and your teachings and your help.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that feedback. Anybody else?
Have a question for Mohammed.
Yes.
You want to read that I read?
I don't know whether I'll understand your English, but go ahead. Her father is an English teacher.
He don't have time for me. This is not my fault. It's not my fault. Okay. I can remind in the taste energetic. Okay. Somebody can read because I'm really nervous and I cannot read this.
I'll go ahead.
What?
Go ahead.
I can remain in a taste energetic states for a long time. What does make the fade away?
No, he's saying he can't remain in the energetic states. They fade away. He can't stay for a long enough time. They fade away. What can he do about that?
It's called practice. Just keep practicing feeling them. Open up yourself to them. Say energies, I accept you, I love you, I want you around. It takes practice. It takes persistence. It takes love of the energies. Love of the process itself of opening up and growing. It takes patience with yourself. Don't beat yourself because it's not happening fast enough. Let somebody else beat you. Any other questions? I play with Maria about her language. I play with a lot of people about a lot of different things. Right, Tonita?
I have a question.
Yes?
How to surrender yourself to another? How to give yourself to another for complete? like a jump in a pool?
That is a question, isn't it? That is a real question. How do you surrender? The thing is, surrender sort of comes to you. It's grace. It's not something you can really do. The closest thing you can really do is to relax into your love for the other. Feel the other. And feel the other. And relax into that feeling so that he or she comes into your heart and into your body. Just relax. And you may practice falling to the floor, bowing to the other, your idea of the other. Feel them walking on you. Feel the other surrender to them, of your life and body to them. See, it came sort of naturally to me. It never came to Janet, and it certainly never came to Dia. And if you're lucky, like I was, it came. A very easy ability to surrender to another. Not just a woman, but to a man too. Touch their feet. Feel their life force in their feet. To energetically respond to life force that I feel from them. It's so easy to love after you learn how to surrender. It feels so good to be out of yourself because you don't have to do things anymore. You just wait to hear what they want. So it's not your problem anymore. It's their problem. What to do with this mess on the floor bowing to me. Do I love them back? Do I let him touch my feet? Do I let him kiss me? What is it that I want? Let them figure it out. For you, you've done everything. You've said, I've given my life to you. Take it, do with it as you will. And it feels so wonderful to be able to say that. I am no more. I am yours. Only for you.
Is kind you lose yourself in another?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Ed.
Yes.
It's Michael T. How are you?
Oh yeah. Hi.
Hi. Got a quick question. You mentioned Kriya. I don't know much about that, but is there a technique called Kriya Yoga? And if you know something about it, can you share that?
There is Kriya Yoga, and I know almost nothing about it, but it's probably similar, using breathing, pranayama, along with imagination, entering different chakras in different orders, usually the heart, the throat, and the head, or the sexual organ, the heart, and the head, something like that. There's all different kinds. You have to read a book on Kriya Yoga because I've never practiced it. But it's the same sort of thing, energy work, love, but mostly energy work.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Once again, I shot my load. I don't have anything more to give about this. Yes.
Another person ask you something. I don't know he or she. I don't know her name. He asked for you do guide meditation.
I was actually doing it today, but not in the form saying this is guided meditation. I was taking you with me through my experiences. But I don't usually do it like a guided meditation, although I've done it at times. You can find them on YouTube, especially into the I am or body scanning. Tonita, you had a question?
May I ask something?
Yeah, of course.
I don't know.
Turn on your microphone so they can. Oh, it's might have feedback.
It's going to feedback.
I'll just speak it as loudly as I can in the room. So you often speak about that longing, and I know that longing very intimately from.
Turn on your microphone because people seem to want to hear it and they can't hear it.
So you, I don't know if it's going to work.
It's more easy if you go next to him and say your question.
No. Just keep talking. It's like I can hear it coming through.
I'll try to say it quickly.
Then the mic needs to be on. You need to turn his mic on.
You often speak about the longing when someone left you, and then how you took that feeling and brought it back to source, and then it became you, in a sense. You embodied that quality. And I remember a time with lovers when I think because I was more physically identified, there was that sense of loss when there was not physical or energetic, because that my range of feeling was more limited then, right? But now I find that I can just feel that person, and I can invoke that person in myself. And I'm only limited by the depth of my surrender to what I feel inside. And there is no longing, there is no downside. It's almost like I internalize them. And
That too, yes. Exactly.
does that make sense? Yeah. Because I'm not identified with the physical presence or absence of the physical form. It's that just the pure feeling of that person and how I sense them. And it's fully satisfying where I'm at, like ecstatic even, depending how deep I can surrender to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But
It ruins the story.
here's the danger. The danger is you use it to avoid relationships by doing imaginative relationships, energetic. Not that they're really imaginative, but you feel their energy and you can incorporate their energy, their sense of presence inside of you. So you don't have to go through the longing anymore. It's a trick. Dia uses it too. Because Dia used to say, I don't need a man. I can make myself have orgasms. What do I need a man for? I don't need men for sex. But there's much more to a relationship than sex and bonding. There's love. And what happened was I didn't take the projections back. When she left and I was feeling love, everything came back to me. All the energies that I had given her flowed back into me. I still loved her. But I recognized that place of bonding in me to her. And I took it all back. I didn't do it. It came back to me. And the same with Dia. I didn't take that power she gave me. It became incorporated in me outside of my consciousness. It was on an unconscious level that the power came back into me. And then gradually afterwards, I began experiencing it because it was so new. So although I'm going to deal with what you're saying, but right now I want to talk about the process itself. The energetic process is the energy that you had devoted to the other and developing Shakti, and the other comes back into you, and Shakti is yours then. Additional Shakti is yours, and it changes you forever. Yes, you can take an old lover and feel what you felt with that lover and feel elation and all that, but that's not going to work with a new lover. A new lover will cause you to cry and die, cause you pain, suffering, and then the most exquisite experiences you can expect too at the same time. And then when he leaves, you'll get it all back, and it'll be your possession. So you can use others as a tool to growth, and I don't mean to use that word use, but successive relationships can be a tool to growth, because each time they're over, you've gained something. You've gained something. So yeah, I can go back and think of my old lovers. I can feel some of them. I can feel like calling them up and talking to them and hear how they hate me, that kind of thing. But I don't have to. I can incorporate them and feel that state. But that doesn't mean that I'm stopping looking, feeling for these kinds of love relationships. What? Oh, sure.
Yeah, I wasn't so much saying, archiving the past and using it as a tool of energetic masturbation, in effect. I don't mean that. I mean that, like in the same way the longing for the divine that love, it's like the divine is not physical, and yet it is, but it's like it can, I don't know what words are falling apart, but it's not just a trick. I guess what I'm saying is that all fulfillment is here, and I can experience it. Even the longing can be experienced here as fulfillment.
Oh, yes.
That's the best I can say.
Yes. The longing for God is no different than the longing for love for another person. That it falls in the same ballpark. One makes it physical. You long for the physicality of another, to possess another, to be with another. And with God, it's just the yearning itself, but there's no physicality attached, because unless you have an idea of God, most people do have an idea or an image of God. So in a sense, it's very similar, but the longing is a purifying process, a heart-opening process. That's the old Rumi statement that God keeps breaking your heart till it stays open. Mm-hmm. Breaking your heart open till it stays open. And that has to happen repeatedly, time after time. Your heart is open until it more and more stays open, because, hey, it's better than having it broken. So you learn to relax the heart and let people in so much more easily.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, continued till next Thursday. Anybody that wants to come here now during this time of moving, help out, you're welcome. I love you so. Bye-bye.